Hi everybody, and welcome back to Art in a Bubble. This is my friend Kenneth, who's just hopped off there, and my other chicken friends. This week, Kenneth, we're going to be carrying on from lesson 2, senior lesson 2. So if you haven't seen that lesson yet, if you haven't done that lesson already, I suggest you look at that one first. This week we're going to be looking at pointillism, and we're going to be taking the shape that we learnt to draw last week, or one of the shapes we learnt to draw last week, which was a cylinder, and we're going to be taking that cylinder shape, drawing it, and using the pointillism painting technique, which is similar to stippling that we learnt last time, and we're going to be applying that to our shape. So come on in. Is everybody following me? So to recap, last time we met we learned about drawing shapes and shading them. Then we used a stippling technique, which was taking a black pen and using lots of little dots, and the dots were in place of our shading that we did with our pencil. Today we're going to develop the stippling technique further into a painting technique called pointillism. There's some great pointillist artists out there, and we're going to have a look at a few of those first.
Pointillism is a painting technique where dots of coloured paint are used to make a picture. Georges-Pierre Seurat is a French artist who came up with the technique of pointillism and painted many well-known artworks, including A Sunday Afternoon on the island of La Grande Jetée, which he painted in 1884. Paul Signac worked with Seurat to develop the pointillism style. This is the pine tree at Saint-Tropez he painted in 1909. Leading up to the pointillism movement was the art movement known as Impressionism, where famous artists such as Monet used small invisible brushstrokes to capture light and colour. Pointillism tricks our mind to blend the coloured spots to see textures, light, form and shape.
Today we're going to concentrate on the shape of a cylinder, and we're going to use this shape in our painting. I've hunted around my house and I've found an item which has a cylinder shape, and I want you to do the same at your house. What can you find that has a cylinder shape? There's lots of items that you could choose from, bottles, tubes, etc. Today I'm choosing this coffee cup. Here is my coffee cup, and I have put the light source, which I've just used a table lamp, above the coffee cup, similar to how we did our lesson last week. So I've put the light source in the same area, and you'll see it's casting the same shadow as the one last week did. Now I'm going to have a go at drawing my cylinder shape using the same ideas of drawing cylinders that we did last week. In my drawing, I've included some shading that I've seen from the inside of the cup, and the shading that I saw from the outside of the cup, and also the shadow that the cup is casting. Now comes a bit of a tricky part, and that is drawing the handle of the cup. Then you need to bring another line down to do the inside of the cup. shade on the inside curve. So now we have the outline of our cup, including where our shading should be. It's time to paint. Today, because my artwork is quite small, I'm just using some fine tipped brushes, ones that are quite firm and that I'm going to be able to control the little dots that I'm going to be making with the paint. I've got a cup of water here because it's important to have water to clean your brushes and also to thin down your paint if you need to. Today I'm using acrylic paint for my artwork, but you can also use some watercolour paints or whatever you have at home. So the point, excuse the pun, of pointillism is that we're going to be using lots of little dots of paint to shade our picture. I'm going to start by mixing some blue paint, and I'm going to do that by putting some little dots of the blue paint. Don't put too much out because paint's expensive, you don't want to waste it. And each of these I'm going to mix in to make either lighter or darker, because we want our painting dots to become light or dark so that we get the shading effect. To do this, I'm going to add varying amounts of red. To my top shades, and then varying amounts of white to my bottom ones, and one I'm not going to put anything in at all because I want that one to be just the straight blue. Then I'm going to take a brush and I'm going to mix these up. So you see there that the white is lightening that up. This one's got even more white in, so it's going to lighten it up even more. I'm going to wash this brush because I don't want to take those colours through into my red ones. Start the end with the least red for mixing, and you'll see that's darkening up the blue there. And you might already know that mixing red and blue gives you a purple shade. And you see that's getting darker and darker the more red we have in there. Now this one's got lots of red, so this is going to give us a browny tone, and this is another paint mixing hint. If you've haven't got brown at home but you'd really like to use brown for a tree or whatever you're painting, lots of red and a little hint of blue is going to give you some brown, especially if you're using a warm red like this one. Okay, so you see from my blue paint I've got lots of different shades now that we're going to be able to start with the darkest colour I've got, and I'm going to use the one that I added the red and purple to, the middle one. I'm going to leave the brown one at the moment, and I'm just going to start. I'm going to make sure I don't have too much on my brush, and I'm just going to start like we did with our felt pen last week with the stippling, just adding little dots of that dark blue colour in, and the dots don't all have to be the same size. There we go. I have just been using the paint here. I haven't gone into any of my other colours yet, and I have gone around where the darkest parts of the shading are from the cup, and I have used small dots of paint to bring in that shading. A bit of a hint with the brush. So the brush I've used is just a very fine brush. If you dip it into the paint and then give it a wee swirl, then that gets the colour on your paint, on your brush nicely. And then if you point the brush straight down rather than sideways, that gives you those nice points. So just pointing straight down. And as I said, it doesn't matter if they are different sizes, that makes it interesting. Here you'll notice that I've put the dots further apart because I don't want it to be as bold and dramatic as this part of the cup itself. I want that to really stand out, so I've still used the dark colour, but I'm just keeping my dots further apart. And I've also worked into the shade of the cup handle as well, because that was really dark in my drawing. Okay, time to try another colour. The second colour I'm going to use is this one here, that is nice and dark as well, and I'm going to be using that to both fill out where I had the darker colour, but also on its own. I'm not going to go right to the edge because I want that to stay that true dark colour, but coming out from the edge a bit, I'm going to add some dots of the lighter blue. You can see already that that just adds a little bit of depth into our painting. And then I'll also be adding some dots out here further on their own. I've started off with this darker blue and then this semi-dark blue. Now I'm going to go to my true blue, which is the one that I hadn't added any white to. I'm going to be using that blue that doesn't have anything added to it, and I'm going to work back into the other blue and a little bit into the colour before as well. So you're trying to get that, like we did with the stippling, where you don't want a sudden change, a sudden line. You're trying to get that as well, where it's more of a graduated change. Now I'm going to move to the blue that I started using a bit of white in. And now I'm going to use the one that I had a bit more white paint in. So we're getting lighter and lighter as we move along. Moving into my really lighter part, so I'm going to put some white paint down, and I'm going to start blending some of the blue into the white. So instead of going blue with white added, I'm now going white with blue added. I'm going to scoop a little bit of that out, and and just darken it up a bit because I'm still looking for that graduated change. So that was our last colour, so now I'm looking to build something that's a little bit lighter than our last colour, and then lighter again. Okay, and now I'm going to add those to our cup. Remember integrating the colour in and then bringing it forward. Now we want to use some just straight white dots and bring those back into our blue. Now I'm going to go back and use this dark blue browny colour, and I'm going to use that to do shading points, still using that dotting technique. To do the shadow of the cup, I'm going to go back to these dark colours here, but I don't want them to be as dark as the cup itself, just like when we did shading in our drawings. So I'm going to use a fine brush and keep the dots far apart and keep the colours just a little bit lighter. Interesting art technique used by many famous painters. Have a go with it yourself. Use it as a way to bring colour and shape to your three-dimensional paintings. I'd love to see you have a go in what you've done, so you can email me on belindacullenreid@mirren.school.nz if you're a Mirren student, or you can find me at Art in a Bubble NZ on our Facebook page, or email me at artinabubblnz@gmail.com. Have a go, see you next time.